So a couple weeks ago, I brought you guys a build guide for little raiders with the blade gun, and that's a really good build, really safe build. You should definitely go check that out. But that might not be your thing. So let me tell you a story. That same weekend that I published that video, I also took my Custom Robo setup to a Smash, like a regional tournament that we had in Louisville, and I was playing with a good number of players. And this player named Nineball, who's one of the better smashers in Kentucky, sat down with me, and he was using Swift, I think, with Knuckle Gun. And so we played a few matches, and he was getting pretty frustrated because he couldn't get in on Splash at all. And so what I told him is that, hey, you should switch to Blade because that's really safe. And he said to me, in the most monotonous voice I've heard in my entire life, he didn't even look at me when he said this, he says, "I'm not here to play safe." I swear to God, in the moment, maybe you just had to be there. In the moment, it was the most hilarious thing I've heard all day. It was so good. But for all you boys out there not trying to play safe, this is going to be the build for you. I'm talking about Chickenheart, the battle bird. And so, Chickenheart is definitely a more rush-down oriented robo. And it's the only Burning Beast model in the game. This allows it to have a teleport as its air dash, but he only gets one teleport, not three like the strike managers, which might leave you wondering, why do you pick Chickenheart over like Javelin or something, or Glaive, for example. Well, Chickenheart's got the really broken collision attack, and oh my god, this is the best collision in the game, I think. And it's really fast, and it covers a lot of distance, and it clears walls, and it has very low end lag, so you can essentially use it as a burst mobility option to rush down your opponent if you want to. You can't get hit out of it on startup by like needle gun or an anti-air or something like that, so you have to be careful, but it's a really good way to hit your opponent from the other side of a wall, as long as you know the spacing, and get free combos afterwards. Or even if you miss, it's fine because the end lag is so low, you can just rush them down and then shoot them with your gun. So without further ado, let's get into this. Let's get into the rest of the build. So the gun, you actually have a lot of options for the gun that you're going to use, and I'll get into some of the additional options later. But the one I want to start off with is Drill. So Drill gun is a really obnoxious gun, and it's got mid-range, but for the amount of knockdown power you get and the amount of damage that you get, the range is really pretty damn good. Drill is going to knock down pretty much everything that's not a metal grappler, and it'll suck them in and let you get big damage combos off of Drill pretty easy. And so the bomb that we're going to choose with this build is Dual C. And Dual C is really great. It's I think, in my opinion, the best bomb in the game strictly for long-range pressure, because it'll go all the way across the stage, and then it creates two explosions on the ground, and it can clear walls, kind of like the wave pod can, or the wave bomb even. And so it's just really good. We choose the C variant over the regular dual because of the added hit stun that it gives us, which is really nice for getting combos if you connect a dual from mid-range, or if you get one from long range, it can allow you to put a gap in your opponent's pressure and get in, basically. So dual's a really good bomb. Now for the pod that I like to use. Oh Christ. Reflection. Reflection pod is, I think, generally the best pod to choose on this set. And it does a couple things for us. For one thing, being able to deploy 3 pods at the same time is really nice, because it lets us section off a large area of the map very quickly and tells the opponent, don't go here, and that really limits their escape options whenever we're trying to corner them, and so that's really good. The downside to Reflection is that after you use it, there's like quite a lot of time before you get to use it again. So you have to really pick where you want to put it. But as long as you're playing smart with reflection, it's really good. The other pod that I think you can choose that I like sometimes is double wave, which works. It's kind of similar. It throws down only 2 pods, not 3, and they blow up really fast, and that'll give you more APM. You use double wave. But the reason why I like to stray away from double wave a little bit over reflection is because reflection will travel all the way across the map and aid in our long-range pressure game. Even if it's like, I don't know, not particularly great at that, the reflection pods all the way across the map, plus the dual C explosions at the same time, can be pretty difficult for the opponent to deal with. So I think reflection is generally the way to go. And for the legs, we're going to pick short thrust. And short thrust is really good here because it's going to like basically just improve the frame data on our air dash overall and allow us to have like more time to react to stuff and teleport through it. And there are some instances where long thrust is cool to use because it has extended invincibility on your air dash, but that's more of a matchup dependent thing. Like for example, if you need to get through flame gun, then long thrust is a cool option, or probably like a whole bunch of the multi-hit guns, like the rapid fire ones, you can muscle through with long thrust. But the majority of the time you want to be using short thrust. And now let's talk a little bit about some matchups that give us trouble that we want to change up our build for. So as I alluded to a little bit before, metal grapplers are a real pain because we're not actually able to knock down metal grapplers in one hit from drill gun. And in fact, you can't even knock it down after you connect with your dual bomb. You actually have to hit him with 3 dual bombs before a drill gun starts to knock him down, which is really impractical. Also you have to wait for him to acrobat 3 times too, I believe. So it's just like really tough of a matchup because he gets a guaranteed punish if you don't knock him down, and then there's a really good chance that you're just going to lose a trade if you give your opponent that kind of initiative. So there's some different guns that we can choose to alleviate this. And the first one I want to talk about is the shotgun. And I think that out of all the guns that I'm going to talk about, this probably has the least amount of counterplay to it. Because shotgun is just no funny business. It just hits them and it knocks them down. And it does a lot of damage, and it's pretty good. But the problem with shotgun is that its range is really poor. And so even with your like fantastic collision attack and your teleport, it still can be difficult to get in with this shotgun. But if you do, you get a lot of damage, so that's really good. Similar to shotgun, you can try out the Magnum. Magnum is like kind of less consistent, I think, than shotgun because it offers more range and it does knock down in one hit, but the problem is the last like third or so of the Magnum range doesn't actually knock the opponent down. Well, it's got some knockdown power, but very little. You have to hit the bear like I think 6 or 7 times with the max range Magnum to be able to actually knock him down. And so it just makes it to where you could just be using shotgun and get the little bit extra damage since the extra range doesn't matter that much. But where the extra range does come in handy is if you're facing a composition that's like Little Raider plus Metal Grappler, because then the long range shot will be at least knocking the Little Raider down and giving you some utility. But Magnum is which is really frustrating whenever you hit your opponent and then don't get the knockdown. So I kind of like to shy away from it for that reason, but it could be good. And there's another gun I want to talk about that's really interesting, and it's probably going to require us to go into a little bit of depth. And that's the flame gun. The flame gun, now it's really similar to the drill gun, frankly, in the fact that they both can be, well, first of all, before I get any farther, I want to say that both flame and drill can be down canceled. So I think that whenever people start getting really good at doing that, their usefulness in the metagame could like diminish substantially. But for right now, they work just fine because people just aren't good at down canceling. But flame gun, like the drill gun, does not knock down metal grapplers. But the interesting thing about it is that it like leaves you less frame disadvantage than drill gun. So what that means is that if you hit your opponent with drill gun, they get a guaranteed punish and you can't do anything about it. If you hit them with flame gun, it leaves them with a minor amount of frame advantage where they can start to shoot you, but they can't guaranteed like get a hit off. So that allows us to counterplay a little bit, and it allows us to do things such as use our collision attack or a teleport to get out of the way if we predict what they're going to do. And so like you just have to be really matchup aware and know what gun your opponent's using to know if it's a gun that you can go over with your collision attack and continue your combo. Because like if he uses Hornet, for example, I'm pretty sure that's a gun that our collision attack can go over after we hit confirm the flame, which would require him to do something else. I don't know. Needle gun you can't get through because it goes like vertically, but some things you can also teleport through, and that's where short thrust versus long thrust comes into play, because some things you need the extra invincibility for. It's just you have to know the specific scenario. Another really great option, like because Metal Bear plus Needle you can't counterplay at all with your standard options, but if you change Dual C to Crescent K, you get a really cool scenario where if you flame your opponent and then immediately mash out an air shot of Crescent K, then you're going to definitely down him and win a trade, even if he has like Needle or something that you don't have any other way to outplay. And so that's really cool. And I think this is sort of segueing into the next talking point I was going to talk about is Crescent K, and this bomb is really cool. By the way, I advise this for the Metal Grappler matchup again. Now, Crescent gives pretty good range pressure. It's not as good as Dual C, simply because it doesn't clear walls. However, it does give you good pressure from a distance, and using the K variant will give you guaranteed knockdowns if it hits an opponent. And so this can be really good versus Metal Grapplers, or any opponent really it can be useful for, because if you think about it, if you knock them down with your bomb and they want to tag to switch, then that puts them in their cooldown, and so from there, once you burn their cooldown, then you can really go in and start going to town with your drill gun or with your flame gun. I mean, or anything. Just having your opponent in that cooldown period means you're going to get a better conversion off if you can win neutral within the next 7 seconds or so. So Crescent K is a really interesting option to consider over Dual C. It puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage in neutral compared to Dual C, but if you do land it, I think that you're generally better off because you get a knockdown. So that's really cool. And now I think I want to talk about stages. So they're the main thing to consider with stages is the overall size of the stage. The stage layout doesn't matter so much, like the wall layout doesn't matter so much with Chickenheart, simply because he's got the collision attack that clears walls, and he also, if you opt for the dual C bomb, you got that can clear walls as well. So the wall layout isn't like a super huge factor, but the size of the stage is. If you go to Chinese Bowl or to Robo Room, you can really suffocate your opponent because they have a hard time getting away, especially if you run the drill gun. It's just so hard to run away from Chickenheart on that stage. But conversely, stages like Nature Park and Flower Garden are definite like ban this stage if you get the chance, because it's easier for them to keep you out. And I think that just about covers everything I have to say about Chickenheart. And so go ahead and give me a like if you enjoyed this video. I think that next week I'm trying to decide on what kind of tutorial I want to put out for next week. I think either I want to put out a tutorial on like selecting the correct robo body and like pretty much talking about what all the pros and cons are of using each different body, because a lot of people are confused about that. The other thing I'm trying to decide about is if I should make a tutorial about the bombs and pods, and more specifically what all the letters following the names mean, because I think that could also be really useful for a lot of people. So go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know either way which one you'd like to see. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.